Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottarastra Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astottarastra Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all the Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to you all on this most exceptional day of celebrating the chariot festival, Ratha Yatra. Ratha Yatra today is in process. So today we won't do Jaiva Dharma because we won't have time. I'm going to describe something of Ratha Yatra, and also it's the Tirubhav of Swarup Damodar and Shivananda Sain. So it's an incredibly auspicious day. From early morning here in Godrum, there was beautiful kirtans coming across the Jalangi, celebrating these personalities and glorifying Lord Jagannath today. He comes out. Lord Jagannath has been, he had his Snan Yatra maybe 2 weeks previously, and he became sick after that Snan Yatra. He got a cold. So that's an opportunity for the pujaris to refurbish his body, to fix his body, anything that needs fixing with it. And he doesn't have any darshan. And then today he comes out. Everyone's very happy. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would leave Puri after the Snan Yatra because Jagannath he would go to Alalnath there and he would take shelter there. And the devotees would go there also. So today we have Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. They emerge from the temple, and all the crowd is so happy to see them again after a 2-week period. And now Jagannath is saying to Bimala Devi, who is actually like Durga Ma. It's an aspect of Maya Devi, and she's his principal queen there. And Jagannath is requesting that he goes for some time in the country. He goes for some time in the country and to replenish his strength. So he wants to go to Vrindavan. And it appears very innocent because he wants to go with his brother Balaram and Subhadra. So Bimala Devi doesn't think that there's anything problematic with that, because Bimala Devi has always got her eye. Is he going to run off with the gopis again? Something like this. But if he's going with his brother, and if he's going with his sister, then they'll be with Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, etc. So that'll be. So they go from the main temple in Nilachal, and they go on the grand road, it's called, to the Gundicha. It's approximately more than a mile long, maybe 1.5 miles, I think that whole journey is. It's a good distance. I'm not sure of the exact distance. Somebody can tell me.
3 kilometers.
Huh?
3
kilometers. Okay, very good. Thank you. So 3 kilometers journey to the Gundicha. And sometimes Jagannath makes it in a day, and sometimes he doesn't. I was there 1 year, and he comes out and he stays in the middle of the street for the whole night because they didn't bring him out, or it's Lord Jagannath is the completely independent Lord of the universe, and he can come or not come at his own sweet will whenever he wants to come. So he came out late this one time, and then his chariots were held in the middle of the street, and then in the nighttime, any devotee is allowed to go onto the chariot and have complete darshan of Lord Jagannath. So this is very nectar for all the sadhaks to have that opportunity. So originally, before Mahaprabhu manifested, there was only one chariot. And it was by Mahaprabhu's mercy that he arranged that there should be 3 chariots, one for each personality. And Jagannath would ride in the front, and then Subhadra in the middle, and Balaram at the back. That's how.
Baladev at front.
Baladev at the front.
Middle is Subhadra and last Jagannath.
Okay. Because today I was watching it live and it looked like Jagannath came out first.
Oh, first he comes in, but the Ratha
The
is
Rath.
Baladev.
Okay. So first is Baladev, and then Subhadra, and then Lord Jagannath. So, but Mahaprabhu completely changed the whole mood, because all the residents and locals were thinking that this is only about the Aishwarya, Lord of the universe, Jagannath, in a mood of Vaidhi Bhakti, of course, because this was all the understanding they could have from Shastra before Mahaprabhu appeared. But when Mahaprabhu appeared, he appeared, as we know, to give us Braja Ras, Braja Prem. So everything had to be understood from that perspective. So what is the real meaning of this Rath Yatra? My Gurudev has given this very beautiful book, The Origins of Rath Yatra. And in this book, he describes clearly the moods of the this festival and what it means, in fact. So the meaning is that there was a solar eclipse in Kurukshetra 5,000 years ago. And Krishna had been away from Vrindavan for almost 70 years. He had been out of Vrindavan. And the Brijvasis were feeling such separation from him. And all the kings from all India were invited to this solar eclipse festival, because it would become. Indian culture rests on dharmic festivals. Everything is just to do with the Lord. All the festivals, even the Devi festivals like Ganeshji and so on, it's all focused on beyond this material world. There's no celebration like we have in the West, a celebration for just people's music, which has no connection with any Ishtadeva or anything like that. But everything in India has a focus on transcendence, even if it's just a Swarga. So all of the kings and rishis and sages were invited, but the Brijbasis were not invited, because Krishna knew his father's heart, and he knew that his father would hear about the festival, would hear about the solar eclipse. It's very necessary on a solar eclipse to bath 3 times. When the solar eclipse begins, when the solar eclipse is in progress, and when the solar eclipse finishes. 3 times there should be snan at these 3 junctions. And if you do it collectively with other devotees, and there's all kirtan and glorification going on simultaneously, then it turns away from being inauspicious to being very auspicious. So anything which is an opportunity for the devotees to increase their sukriti and pious credits, etc., then they're going to take, just like today. So many people have gone to Jagannath Puri. If you get the fortune to pull on the ropes or to take darshan of these beautiful personalities today, then this is great, great eternal fortune to us. It's described, if you pull the ropes of Lord Jagannath, you will 100% go back to Godhead. But when you go back is not said. But at least you're on the track to go back. So just to pull the ropes is very important. So the Brijbasis, they found out about this, and they all packed their bullock carts, and they knew Krishna's heart because they hadn't seen him for so long. And then they packed many milk preparations and so on. And it's described that Upananda, Nanda Baba's elder brother, stayed behind in Braj to take care of the balance of cows, etc. Some cows they would take with them to milk upon the way, because the Brijbasis subsist on just milk products, ghee, milk, butter,
Paneer.
paneer, all of these milk products is what they live on. So they took some cows with them and made the journey from Vrindavan to Kurukshetra, which is probably about almost 1,000 miles. And with great eagerness and anticipation in finally seeing Krishna again, having darshan of Krishna. When Mother Yashoda is in Vrindavan, she has no more tears. She's sitting like a cold statue, can't even move. But now they're all on the bullock carts going to see Krishna. So they've all like got fresh life in themselves. And the gopis in particular, they are all just, because they were almost dying, leaving their bodies in Uddhav Kyari. And now they're all coming to Kurukshetra. So I want to read from this Origins of Ratha Yatra to inspire you all to read this or touch with it regularly. But just some of these descriptions here, which I'm narrating. So I'm just reading in the book from page 115. And it's more or less what I've been saying, but it's more clearly written. So everyone bathed at Kurukshetra, made their donations, and after they came to Krishna's tent to take his darshan. Now this is the point. The gopis are going to come into this atmosphere of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. My Gurudev says as many as 10 million people came to this Mahotsav. So how could the gopis find the intimacy, that connecting intimacy with Krishna amongst so many other people? And these people were commanders. They were rishis. I'll read this list here. It's interesting. Came to Krishna's tent to take his darshan. Krishna had a huge, enormous tent that could fit hundreds of thousands in. Thousands and thousands of rishis, maharishis, brahmavadis, realized souls like Narad, Bhishma Pitamba, the grandfather of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. This is, of course, before the battle of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra is brewing, is building at this point, but it hasn't happened because Duryodhana is here with all his brothers, etc. The Kauravas and Pandavas, Vyasadeva, Gautam, Yagyavalkya, Duryodhan and all his brothers, Dronacharya, Karna, and all the Kauravas came from all over India, from all over the world. Rishis and Maharishis from the Caspian Sea, like Kasyapa, also came, and from Mongolia, sages like Mangala Rishi came with his sons and daughters. Almost all the kings of the world had assembled there to bathe in the very pious lake there, and the crowd consisted of more than 10 million people. All were there to bathe in that lake, and all were residing there in separate camps. So we get the picture. My Gurudev is painting a clear picture because he wants to present the moods. It's the mood that is the real essence of our bhakti. Because if it's not connecting with the mood, with the bhav, it's simply somewhat like Vaidhi Bhakti. It's just like dry. The bhav has to be there. So the picture is painted. Now everyone assembled in the camp of Vasudeva and Devaki to take darshan of Krishna, and they began to enter his tent. His tent was so large that thousands of people could fit inside. Although there was no arrangement for loudspeakers, everyone could easily hear him speak. In fact, everyone thought, Krishna is sitting near me. I'm joking with him. I'm telling him something, and he is very happy to hear it. So this is an intimacy was there, but this is an intimacy within Aishwarya Bhav. Then there's more list, and then there's pastime about Queen Kunti meeting Vasudeva. In the meantime, Nanda Baba and the Brijbasis were coming on many bullock carts. Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, and all the gopis like Srimati Radhika, Lalita, Vishaka, and all Krishna's cowherd boys friends like Dham, Sridham, Sudam, Vasudam, Stoka Krishna, Madhumangal, and all others were on their way. We know Krishna's relationship with these personalities is so intimate and jovial. So as soon as Krishna is going to see these personalities, his heart's going to completely melt. And thousands of gopas and gopis were on their way to see Krishna. While everyone else was meeting with Krishna, someone, this means all the soldiers and the kings were meeting with Krishna, someone came and told him and Baladev, "Oh, your mother and father are coming in a bullock cart." When Krishna heard this, he immediately left all the members of the assembly, although there were many thousands upon thousands of devotees, like Kashyapa, Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Narad, Vasishtha, Agastya, Valmiki. Krishna left them all and at once ran towards Yashoda and Nanda, weeping and weeping. So this is the mood that Krishna instantly is going to run to his mother and father. Now, there's a beautiful union between Krishna and Mother. Krishna, about this time, he's about 80 years old. And he sits on the lap of his mother. He doesn't look as if he's aged a day since he left Vrindavan as a 16-year-old youth. Neither does Nanda Baba look like he's aged a day, nor does Mother Yashoda, nor do any of the gopis. They all look exactly the same. They haven't aged at all because they're Nityasiddha personalities. So Krishna, he comes to Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda is in a mood of pure Vatsalya, the highest Vatsalya conceivable. And Krishna immediately, Yayatamam Pravadyante, Tams Tataiva Brajamya, immediately must reciprocate with that mood. So he climbs on Mother Yashoda's lap and takes her breast milk at 80 years old, unabashed, not shy, anything. Mother Yashoda just puts her cloth over his head and Krishna takes him. Previously, Mother Yashoda, when she was in Braj, her milk and everything had totally dried up. She was like a statue. Nothing was coming from her for so many years, but as soon as she saw Krishna, everything became back alive again. And with Nanda Baba, he embraced Nanda Baba. Baladev sits on Nanda Baba's lap. Nanda Baba smells his head. There's such a joyful union. Mother Rohini comes, and Devaki also comes. And Devaki is a little disturbed because she's realizing, well, Krishna never acted with me like this. And she starts to say some sort of not critical, but unsettling words. So Rohini Ma very nicely takes her to another place. But Mother Yashoda is understanding that the gopis' hearts must be breaking. They've come all this way to see Krishna, and they were carrying that weight of anticipation, Purvarag. And now it's like a whisper away from seeing him, and they haven't had his darshan yet. So now they're practically really ready to give up their lives. Mother Yashoda, she's so sensitive, she can realize this, that the gopis are close by. And she's so loving, Mother Yashoda, to all of the gopas, all the gopis. Her heart is fully melting towards all. And she makes an arrangement for Rohini and herself and Devaki to leave, and Nanda Baba, she tells them, let's go. And and Balaram also goes, and they leave Krishna so he has a chance to meet exclusively with the devotees, with the gopis. So the gopis, of course, are there expressing their desire to just be liberal with Krishna like they always were in Vrindavan. But now they're not in Vrindavan. They're in a land of Aishwarya. Krishna doesn't have his flute. He doesn't have his peacock feather. Although the gopis, they brought it with them. They brought, I think that's the Rath Yatra just coming, yeah. So they've brought all his flute, etc. So Krishna is exchanging with them very beautifully. But at this time, the gopis are requesting him, we want you to come back to Vrindavan. We cannot properly express our appreciation in our relationship in this environment. This is not conducive. So we have made a chariot of our minds. you please climb on this mano chariot, this mind chariot, and let us bring you back to Vrindavan. So this is what the Rath Yatra festival is all about. It's about the gopis bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. So we have it in Puri, where they're going from the Aishwarya temple to the Gundicha, which represents Sundarachal, which is Vrindavan. So that's exactly the same. So Mahaprabhu, only Mahaprabhu is explaining this. This is what's really happening, that Lord Jagannath is coming back to take up his identity as Brajendranandan Sham Sundar for 8 or 9 days there in the Gundicha. That's his purpose, his intention. So this is what the gopis want to do. So very much Mahaprabhu is only relishing in that mood. And he's singing this very beautiful verse, which is actually from a mundane song. But it's the mood of this song is the mood of his heart. This Yakomara Sara Yatkomara Harasa Eva Hi Varas Ta Eva Chaitra Shapas. This is the beautiful verse. And I just had that second with the translation. Yeah, here. That very personality who stole away my heart. Now this is a mundane song. We were talking about this yesterday, but it's analogous of what is in the heart of Mahaprabhu, of Krishna. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So it's interesting that nobody really present there amongst the devotees, not even Advaita or Nityananda, really could understand what that verse was about. They couldn't really understand it. But Rupa Goswami, he was there and he could understand it. And later on, he's written a beautiful parallel verse describing, instead of just saying the Reva, he talks about the Jamuna and talks about Radha and Krishna meeting in Vrindavan. This is the essence of Rath Yatra festival. This is what Rath Yatra festival is all of. Rath Yatra festival for the Vaishnavas means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is Lord Krishna in the mood of Radhika, in the mood of a sevak. Gopi Bharatu Kamalayo Das Dasana Das. This is what he's saying. In the mood of a servant serving Lord Jagannath. And during the kirtans, which are so extraordinary, when Mahaprabhu was planning the festival, spontaneously, he arranged for 7 different kirtan parties. And he wanted to have 2 parties on either side of the cart, 1 party in front and 1 party in the back. That means 4, 5, 6, and then another party, 2 parties in the rear, and 1 party in the front and 2 on the sides. So all of these personalities are described by in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. All the different groups are described there. And it's very interesting. I was just going to read it to you. I seem to have got the wrong book here. You see that black book sitting beside you with the picture of Jagannath on the cover? Yes. Black one, yes, thank you. So all of these groups are beautifully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. 7 parties for the wrath. So Mahaprabhu is meditating on all his eternal parakas who are with him, and he wants to organize them into a beautiful kirtan offering for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's described that the first party, Swarup Damodar, whose disappearance day it is today. And I want to leave some time to say something about Swarup Damodar and also Shivananda Sain before we finish. So Swarup Damodar is the leader of that first party. And then Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govinda Datta, Dutta, Raghava Pandit, Govinda Dev, and Advaita Acharya is the dancer. So he's organizing the parties. Try to understand the mood of this festival. Mahaprabhu is managing like a very good manager. He knows each individual devotee, and he knows who is a good kirtaniya, who is a good dancer, who is a good leader, etc. So Srivas Thakur is the leader of the second party. We discussed this the other day. And in his party is Gangadas, Haridas Jr., and Shriman, and Subhananda, and Sri Ram Pandit are in his party. And Nityananda Prabhu is the main dancer. So we can envisage it. Swarup Damodar in one party, Nityananda dancing in another party, with Srivas Thakur dancing. Srivas Thakur is a tremendous kirtaniya because he was present there in the Srivasangam in the Satpraharya pastime of the 21 hours chanting. And then Mukunda Datta is the main singer in the third party. And this is Vasudev, Gopinath, Murari, Srikanta, and Ballabha Sain. Gradually, as we spend more time worshipping Lord Chaitanya with our lives, we will get more familiar with the different personalities and Nitya Siddha Parikas who were with Mahaprabhu. And as we progress in our devotional service, these personalities will become more alive in our consciousnesses while we're chanting, just like in all the personalities from Braj, all the Sakis, Madhu Mangal, Sridham, Subal, everyone, all these personalities become much more alive in the consciousness. They're not just words on a page and names, but for the enthusiastic devotee, he wants to know about these people. And so much is written about all these different personalities, especially these personalities I'm mentioning. There are many books there that Bhakti Ballabh Tirtha Maharaj has written, a beautiful Chaitanya Associates book, large book, with all of these personalities there, because all these holy days come up. This is why Pujapad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj has emphasized regularly, whenever these appearance and disappearance days come, we must glorify them because we want to get to know who these people are. If we just see like a word on a page, Shivananda Sain, we have no idea who he is, where he came from, anything about him. That's unfortunate. We're missing that kripa that we'll channel down today because it's his Tirabhav day and all about him. So 3 parties. So Mukunda is the main singer, Vasudev, Gopinath, Murari, Srikanta, Ballabha Sain, and Haridas Senior is the dancer. So you have Advaita Acharya, Nityananda, and Haridas Senior dancing in the. Can we imagine the vigorous nature of these parties, all pleasing Lord Jagannath? And then Govinda Ghosh, who we read in our songbook, many songs that he's actually written, Govinda Ghosh. He's the main singer. And Vishnu Das, Raghava, and then his brother, Madhava Ghosh, and Vasudev Ghosh. These his 3 brothers. His place is just close by. You can go and visit that house of the Ghosh brothers. 3. There's a beautiful deity of Gopinath close by. Yes, very close by. Which is very wonderful to take the. And Vakreshwar Pandit, he's the main dancer. So these 4 dancers, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda, Haridas Senior, and Vakreshwar Pandit. These are such. Vakreshwar Pandit is actually Aniruddha. in the quadruple expansion. Vakreshwar Pandit was begging Mahaprabhu, please give me 1,000 Gandharvas to sing with me while I chant. He's famous for chanting non-stop for 71 hours. He chanted he danced for 71 hours. He had so many shishyas and followers, Vakreshwar Pandit. So these are extraordinary personalities in these kirtans. And then there's 3 other parties. So that's 4 parties of name. And there's a party from Kulinyagram, consisting of Ramananda. Satyaraj was the main dancer. We hear the story. Satyaraj is asking Mahaprabhu these questions at the end. What is the requirement for a grihasta wanting to go forward on this? And Mahaprabhu is explaining about Harinam, and he explains about Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam. 3 times he's explaining that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Satyaraj Khan is instructed to bring the silk ropes to pull the chariot each year from his place. So he's given direct service. And then from Shantipur, it's described that Advaita Acharya is the main man. This is how Krishnadas Kaviraj describes it in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is very mystical, because Advaita Acharya has already been described as a dancer in another party, but Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu. So maybe Advaita Acharya had 2 places where he was dancing simultaneously, because what we're going to hear is the most extraordinary dance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was manifesting in all of these 7 parties simultaneously. So this was like something very mystical and miraculous was taking place. And then the 7th party, 6th party is Shantipur party. Achyutananda is the dancer in that party, the son of Advaita Acharya. And then the 7th party from Kardaha is Narahari Prabhu and Raghunandan Das, the son of Mukunda Das, who's the brother of Narahari Das. They come from Kardaha, which is also very close by here. And they were dancing. So appreciate this setting of the Rath Yatra when Mahaprabhu was present. These 4 parties danced in front, 1 on each side. Oh, I said it wrong in the beginning. 4 parties danced in front, 1 on each side, and 1 in the rear. So that makes 7 parties each. And they had 2 mridangas in each party. That means 14 mridangas. And they had so many cartels. And it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the sound was so tumultuous that the sky was cracked. And all the Mahamantra was flowing in all of the universe from the Rath Yatra cart. We can just imagine Lord Jagannath is there. He's hearing this intoxicating kirtan, and Mahaprabhu, his expression is only to bring Jagannath back to Vrindavan. This is what the whole mood of this is about. It's so rustic, but how many today are appreciating this rustic nature of the Rath Yatra? It's unfortunate, but most of them are not educated in all the precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you're not listening to Mahaprabhu, you don't understand these topics. So this is all the devotees became mad, and all came together like clouds, and tears, their tears were like rain. It's described, very beautiful, from their eyes. All that could be heard in the 3 worlds was Sankirtan Ras. So this is what Mahaprabhu has come to give us, this Sankirtan Ras. And it's principally like inaugurated. That means it takes its birth in Srivasangam in Navadvip, but for the general people, it's offered in this Rath Yatra festival, this Sankirtan Ras. And Lord Jagannath, he became so enamored with the kirtan and the moods of Mahaprabhu that he would stop and he couldn't be pushed forward at all. There's one time when he just stood still, completely spellbound, because Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radhika. She has the form of Radhika. Jagannath is Shyam Sundar, and he's looking at Radhika dancing. spinning around, jumping high in the air, chanting so loudly, so beautiful. And he's stunned because Krishna has never advented in this form previously in this day of Lord Brahma. And this is such a deep appreciation of who is Mahaprabhu, that he's come to taste himself. Krishna has come. So Lord Jagannath is also tasting himself through Krishna, tasting himself, dancing as Sri Radhika in this Rath Yatra. And this is really intoxicating for Lord Jagannath. So he can't move. He's stunned. So when Jagannath is the Lord of the universe, when he's stunned, his chariot won't move because he will just, his chariot is him, is an extension of him. So it doesn't matter, it can't roll forward. And even the king comes, Prataparudra, with so many elephants to pull the chariot because Krishna wants to make a demonstration of the speciality of Mahaprabhu. So he inspires Prataparudra to come forward with elephants so that everyone will see ultimately that it's only by the mercy of Mahaprabhu that that chariot is going to go forward, because after they've tried and struggled, even his army have come and tried to pull the chariot because it's getting late. Jagannath is standing for a long, long time. It's always very hot in this month of Jyeshta today, this month of June. Even today on the video, you see the fire engines with all the hoses spraying everybody with water. People are passing out in the heat. But in those days, previously, it was also very hot. So they wanted to get the chariot going, but they couldn't. Then Mahaprabhu told everyone to stop, step back. And just with his head, he pushed up against Lord Jagannath's cart, and then it began to rumble, crunch forward, these huge wheels. These chariots take a whole year to make. Each year, the chariots are finished and scrapped and used in firewood for all the offerings. And then they make new chariots from the beginning. Like in a few weeks, they'll begin to make the new chariots for next year. And the special wood has to be found in the forest, etc. So this is the environment of the Rath Yatra during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, the most powerful sound vibration of this Sankirtan Ras, resonating from these seven immensely potent kirtan parties. We can just imagine how astonishing that must have been at the time. And Mahaprabhu was feeling great success, especially that Rupa Goswami had understood his heart when he said that verse. And he responded, Rupa Goswami responded with this other verse, Priyo Soham Krishna Saha Chari Kurukshetra Militas, that you have come to Kurukshetra. So I told a little bit of the story of Kurukshetra. I've said all this in very, very brief. If you actually look at this Origins of Rath Yatra book, and you can read the full pastime. But we should know this. My Gurudev used to say, you are still on the Kanishta platform if you don't understand the reality of Rath Yatra. Mahaprabhu was living in Puri for 18 years. So he manifested all of this pastime over an 18-year period to really bring it to a high crescendo of appreciating why he's come. Mahaprabhu, his mission was to establish why he. When you think about why Mahaprabhu comes, to taste his own sweetness, whose sweetness? It's Radhika who's tasting that sweetness. So Mahaprabhu is glorifying Sri Radhika. So our path, our journey is to glorify Sri Radhika, because the culmination and the teaching for the sadhak is to imbibe this mood of Radha Dasyan in our lives. This is what he's come to give us. This Swa Bhakti Shriyam. He's come to taste Unnata Ujjvala Ras himself. But he's come to give us Swa Bhakti Shriyam. Swa, own, his own bhakti. What is Krishna's own bhakti? It's Radhika. And what is her own bhakti's beauty? It's the manjaris are her beauty, her maidservants, who are described like Radhika's limbs. So these limbs are directly a part of Radhika. She can slap them, she can She's so familiar with them, they can do anything. They even can come into the Kunj and untangle Radha and Krishna's hair while they're in their conjugal pastimes. They can come in and massage their feet, fan them, do anything, completely uninhibited. So this, amazingly, is what Mahaprabhu has come to give us. And this Rath Yatra festival symbolizes this. If we understand the precepts of this Rath Yatra festival. So today is such a special day, and we're so fortunate to glorify Rath Yatra on such a day. So take darshan of the live streaming from Puri and see that. And it's also the disappearance day of Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar is the principal associate of Mahaprabhu. Swarup Damodar is Lalita Saki. So Lalita Saki is always between Radha and Krishna. And she's sometimes chastising Krishna and she's sometimes chastising Radhika for the sake of the pastimes. She has that pragalbhata, that boldness, that mood of being very bold. She's not afraid of Krishna because she loves Krishna so much. She's not afraid of Radhika because she loves Radhika so much. This is the heart of Ragmarg, not to be afraid. Like this Aishwarya makes fear come. If there's fear there all the time, there can be no sweetness. This fearness is manifested through Vaidhi Bhakti and Aishwarya. Vaidhi Bhakti is motivated by fear. We do our sadhana by fear if we're a Vaidhi Bhakta. But hopefully, if we're following the path of Ragmarg, that fear will dissolve because the love will eclipse that fear and become so much stronger. So Lalita Saki, she's between the two, always bringing them together. And that always trying to make the relationship more sweet and more special. Sometimes she will chastise Radhika. Hold on to your man. Don't give up your man, because this pleases Krishna ultimately. That's why Radhika, everything Radhika does is to please Krishna only. Nothing else. And if Chandravali wasn't there, she wouldn't have an opportunity to go into man. So Chandravali has her part also. So Lalita Saki, and she's all, as Swarup Damodar, he's always with Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu went to Puri to take sannyas, when he left, Swarup Damodar, his name was Purushottam Bhattacharya, immediately went to Kashi and immediately took sannyas. He didn't take the Vesh, but he took a name, Swarup Damodar, and he took a guru in the Mayavad line, the same as Mahaprabhu did. And then he rushed quickly to Jagannath Puri to be with Mahaprabhu. But Swarup Damodar is described as the most erudite, the most knowledgeable. It's described his mind was like an encyclopedia. He understood everything from top to bottom of Shastra, and he would have to check all the different offerings of books, etc., and poems that the devotees would come in there, because many devotees write, and they would want to write and glorify Mahaprabhu. So, but Mahaprabhu would never see anything unless Swarup Damodar had checked it. Everything is checked by Swarup Damodar. And then we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's glorifying Swarup Damodar by giving these 5th and 6th verses right in the first Antyalila. This Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Kladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmanav. This is written by Swarup Damodar. And the next verse, Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanaiva. Swadyenat Badam Madarima Kidrisho Matya. Sokyam Kasyam Mad Anabhavata Kidrisham Vidula. At Bhavadya Samajini Sachikarabo Sindhavarin. These 2 verses are written by Swarup Damodar. And the 4th verse is written by Rupa Goswami. So Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's making his offering like this. And then we should understand that when Raghunath comes to Puri, he finally escapes by the mercy of Nityananda, and he comes into the assembly of the Vaishnavas. Then Mahaprabhu is so happy to see him. He jumps up and embraces him. And then he puts his hands in the hands of Swarup Damodar and says, now you will be called Swarup Raghu. So Raghunath, because there's other Raghunaths there. So now he's Swarup Raghu. So he spends 14 years with Swarup Damodar, learning everything about devotion, the hearts, and he's with Mahaprabhu during all these very intimate times. And at this time, Swarup Damodar, he's writing his kadachas, his notebooks, And Raghunath also is writing. Then he takes these when Swarup Damodar leaves this world. He leaves this world just 2 or 3 months after Mahaprabhu has left. Mahaprabhu leaves in 1534. Swarup Damodar also leaves in 1534 on the day of this day of the Rath Yatra festival. And very often his celebration of his Tirubhav is forgotten because Rath Yatra is such a huge festival. And this Swarup Damodar is doing in his humility. He knows that no one's going to, or people probably won't pay him so much attention. They'll be looking to the Rath festival. So this is a sign of his humility. And if ever you go to Puri, his samadhi is there, but it's very hard to find. It's directly opposite Haridas Thakur, and there's a large wall in a sort of vacant lot, and you have to stand on a rickshaw to look over the wall because there's no gate even to get in, and there is his samadhi, Swarup Damodar's samadhi. So his glories are endless, Swarup Damodar, and we remember them every single day. When we always remember Lalita Saki, and we remember Swarup Damodar simultaneously, and his closeness to Mahaprabhu. Also today is the Tirubhav of Shivananda Sain. Shivananda Sain was a very, very wealthy disciple, follower of Chaitanya Dev, and from Halisha, his place is called, which is where Ishwarapuri was born also. It's his place, Ishwarapuri. And you can go there today, and there's a very large remnants of his house. He was a very wealthy person, and Mahaprabhu instructed him to support personalities like Vasudev Datta. Vasudev Datta was very liberal with his finances, and Mahaprabhu was always concerned, will he have enough to maintain his family, etc. So he told Shivananda Sain, you always look after this devotee, Vasudev Dutt. Make sure he has enough to look after his family. And Shivananda Sain's main service was to arrange and accompany all the devotees to Puri every year, because the devotees could not tolerate separation, being away from Mahaprabhu for so long. They would sit for 8 or 9 months in Navadvip, but then when the time came time for the Rath Yatra festival, they would all come down, and maybe 700 or 800 of them. Advaita Acharya Nityananda would come, even though he was instructed not to come. And all the devotees, Narahari, Narahari Thakur, and Mukunda Datta, all these personalities would come from Bengal to have darshan of Mahaprabhu. And Shivananda Sain would take care of all the expenses on the travel. He would arrange for the ferry, the boat rides, etc., all their prasadam, arrange for their accommodation, arrange for everything. He would completely take care of them, because these devotees like Kolavecha Sridhar didn't have anything. He would sell banana stalks, etc., so that they don't have anything, many of the devotees. And he would completely look after them. And one year he got delayed at the toll gate, and Nityananda became very unhappy with him, wanting to give him his mercy. And he cursed him in front of his wife because he hadn't arranged the lodgings quickly enough, because he'd been held up by a toll gate. And he cursed him that his 3 sons would die. And finally, when Shivananda Sain came, caught up with the devotees, his wife was so distracted and unhappy, saying, oh, Nityananda's cursed my 3 sons to die. She was weeping and wailing. And Shivananda said, good, let them die if it's the will of Nityananda. What is the problem? Any mercy from Nityananda is only going to be to our greatest benefit. And then he went to Nityananda and begged his forgiveness, and Nityananda kicked him right in the stomach or on the head, I'm not sure where, but he kicked him. And there was a cousin of Shivananda Sain who couldn't understand this Leela and was thinking that Nityananda had been very heavy with Shivananda Sain, who'd been doing so much work. And he left the party and ran ahead quickly to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a very confused state of mind. But Shivananda Sain felt so much mercy and so much kripa because of that. So, and then also Shivananda Sain shows his sweetness because he had a dog, a street dog that had just followed the party. And Shivananda Sain was so liberal, he wanted to give shelter to that dog. And a boatman wouldn't allow the dog to get on the boat to cross the river. So Shivananda Sain, he paid double the price. And then the boatman said, and then he paid even more. Shivananda Sain paid a lot of money to bring this dog across the river. And then one day, the servant of the dog didn't give the dog his prashad. And Shivananda Sain was asking, did you give the dog? And the servant forgot. And the dog left the party. And Shivananda Sain sent many men out to search for the dog, couldn't find the dog. Understand what sort of person this Shivananda Sain was. He was like controlling the whole party with so many personalities. And he had the wealth to sort of support it. So he was doing it all very, very seriously in honor of Mahaprabhu. So they couldn't find the dog, and Shivananda Sain fasted that whole night because he felt he'd committed some aparad to this dog. But when they got to Puri, a few days later, they saw the same dog sitting next to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was feeding him pieces of coconut. And the devotees were, and Shivananda Sain came in and offered Dandavat pranams to the dog in his humility. He was a greatly wealthy, but he was humble. This is an interesting combination because generally people who are wealthy, they're not humble. They're very proud of their wealth. So he offered obeisances to this dog, and then it's described how the dog disappeared the next day. Nobody could find the dog, and they all understood this dog has gone back to Vaikuntha. So Shivananda Sain is a great eternal sevak, Nitya Siddha Parikar of Mahaprabhu, as is Swarab Damodar. So today, both of these days we're celebrating as their Tirubhav. So these two personalities we have glorified to some degree. What can you say in a short time? But these two personalities we remember very fondly. So today is the festival of Lord Jagannath, and now I think we should go down to the temple because Jagannath has just come here from the Jagannath temple, and he's going to stay here in Surabhikunj for 9 days. Every year he comes and he stays here. This is like the Vrindavan. So we're very fortunate to be in the representative of Vrindavan. So we can go downstairs and join the kirtan, and we can appreciate their coming here. So thank you all very much. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhavayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavena namaha. Jagannath Rathayatra ki jai. Shivananda Sain ki jai. Swarab Damodar ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Okay.